Congratulations, you've turned your lawn into a garden. Gone are the days of mowing, but your role in the garden is still important and necessary. Your main focus after sheet mulching should be on plant health, irrigation, and weeds. Remember, your garden is a living ecosystem. As you've probably observed, plants have died, plants have grown, weeds have popped up, good and bad bugs have kind of taken up residence in your yard, but that's okay. Your garden is ever changing, so don't panic. Help your plants thrive by paying attention to their watering needs, be on the lookout for pests, feeding your soil, and pruning. The best practices for maintaining healthy plants include leaving labels so you can properly identify what is growing and read upon plant needs and best cultural practices. Periodically deadheading or removing spent flowers for longer bloom cycles and continued growth. Dividing bulbs, tubers, and certain perennials to promote growth and spread successful plants to the other parts of the garden. Cutting back perennials at the end of the growing season to encourage healthy spring growth. Expecting some die-off. It is normal to have some die-off, be it seasonal or otherwise. Don't panic, pull spent plants and move on. Winter pruning. Starting in their second full year of growth, many of your plants will benefit from winter pruning. Fall planting. Fall is the best time for adding new perennials and shrubs to your garden. Root systems will start to get established with the winter rains. Remember, when planting, keep this motto in mind: the right plant for the right place. One of the most common mistakes that gardeners make is overcrowding their new plants. Unfortunately, this forces the gardener to have to either prune them or replace them. This causes a lot of work and creates a lot of waste. Once the plants in your garden become established, your watering needs will decrease. The amount of water that plants need changes over the course of seasons. Rainfall, day length, temperature, and wind all influence on how much you should water. Your plant's water needs will also be influenced by the water holding capacity of your soil. To see how well your soil can hold moisture, use a shovel to open up some ground before and after you've watered. Feel for moistness. Look to see how far below the surface the moisture extends. The goal is to water the entire depth of the root system. Applying compost and mulch will increase your soil's organic content, improve its water holding capability, and help create drought resistance. The best practices for watering include hand watering new plants until they are established, which can take up to 3 years. Looking for signs of under or overwatering. Yellow and limp or wilting plants can indicate overwatering. Brown and crispy, underwatering. Mapping your drip system for future repairs. Irrigation lines can disappear in plants and mulch. Map your lines for easy maintenance. Turning off your irrigation during the rainy season. Weeds are going to happen. Sheet mulch will help reduce weeds, but it won't completely prevent weeds from showing up in your garden. Stay on top of your weeds by pulling or reapplying sheet mulch. Weeds will most likely appear at edges or holes in the cardboard. The best practices for controlling weeds include using sheet mulching to create a weed barrier in especially susceptible zones. Managing weeds as needed. Expect that some hand pulling will be necessary. Planting bulbs or wildflowers such as California poppies in empty spaces. Putting in plants with deep roots along fence lines and neighboring yards to create a barrier. Now, every gardener has to contend with unwelcome guests, whether it's persistent dandelions and pathways or snails out on midnight feeding runs. To gain the upper hand, you have to be persistent and strategic. Your goal should be to keep them at tolerable levels. In order to do that, you're going to need to use multiple approaches. Integrated pest management, or IPM, is a holistic approach that looks at the whole picture and stresses solutions that cause the least environmental damage. IPM begins with gaining understanding of the problem. Once you properly identify your pest, you can decide the best way to deal with it. The best practices for controlling insect pests include using an IPM approach to managing insect pests, maintaining healthy plants with proper pruning, fertilizing, and soil conditioning, using less toxic pesticides for aphid, whitefly, and spider mite infestation. In a garden, you're growing two things: plants and the soil. Of the two, many gardeners focus on growing the soil, knowing that healthy plants will soon follow. Like humans, plants require certain nutritional elements for optimal health. Some of these, like carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen, they take from the air or the water. The rest, they come from the soil. The best practices for maintaining healthy soil include top dressing with half-inch compost in the spring and fall. You can cut back on compost applications as your garden matures, particularly with California native plants. Mulching annually with wood chips or other organic material. Letting leaves lie. Avoid the use of leaf blowers and let leaves slowly decompose or collect them for mulching. Remember, mulch won't last forever, and you're going to have to periodically reapply some new layers of mulch. Now, how often you do that really depends on how much you initially applied. Go for a thick layer if you want it to last longer. And if your mulch is disappearing, that's okay. It's just helping feed your soil and plants. For more information, visit lawntogarden.org.